Welcome, welcome. Okay, so my name is Amy Cross. This is the Cross Legacy. Normally, I'm talking about produce and all the other things, but today I have Alina. Say it right? I'm practicing. So, once you get, in your head wrong once, it's over. She is a blogger, and her blog is called The Positive Mom. And we have met each other through TED Talk, which is just so exciting. We were in the same coaching program. She's one of the speech coaches for Thought Leader. And so when I met her in one of the first groups, I was like, oh, she's another blogger, and she speaks to moms and all of the things. And then I got to know her and become friends. And it's just been like a match made in heaven. So we have the same heart. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And we're just going to have this conversation, and we're going to interrupt each other and have scroll brains and answer questions and all of that. So
I love it so much, and I'm so grateful to be here with you. I love you. It was love at first sight. It was like sisters at first sight. So
yes.
I'm really excited to be here with you, and yeah, let's do it.
So do you want to talk about your blog a little bit and what you do? And
yeah, what do you want to know?
Well, you've been doing this for a lot longer than I have. So
well, I started my blog in 2004 officially, and it came from a very dark time in my life where it literally was a way to process my emotions and my feelings, and it saved me. And it was a moment of inspiration that I had, and I remember just thinking, something came to my mind, and I was thinking that life was over and that I couldn't go on and that there was no reason for me to go on. And I think everybody has had one of those moments in which everything seems so dark. And I remember laying on the ground in the fetal position and thinking, I can't do this. I'm done. And, I thought about this scripture or this passage, and it was like, blessed are the meek, and like, blessed are the peacemakers, and all of these things. And I was thinking, I don't know what to do, but I know what to be. And that started me on the journey of like, I could be a positive mom. That was the first thought that came to me. And it was an inspiration, and I call it a personal revelation that completely changed me. And I was thinking, I need to learn this, but I also need support, and I need to be with other moms. So ever since that moment, I've been writing a to-be list every single day instead of a to-do list. And yeah, a to-be list. And I've also been writing and sharing my journey with other moms. And my blog is really a ministry. It's for moms that feel emotionally just charged. They feel pain, they feel regret, they feel struggle. And I think that's all of us really. But that's a little bit about my blog, and it's, as you know, it's not easy. It brings a lot. I don't know if you feel this way, but when I'm pressing publish, sometimes I'm like covering my eyes and pushing the button, and it's a lot of, it takes a lot of courage.
I think I've kind of felt that way all day today, getting ready to jump on this live, and knowing that we'll replay it on YouTube, but knowing that we have
I
such
look bronze. I don't know.
I know the lighting, but knowing that we have such a similar hard childhood story, and we're both using that story to make generational change and to not live in that past point, and trying to affect other people's futures, and minister through those hard times that we have lived through. And for me, I started the Cross Legacy, well, before I started the Cross Legacy, but during the pandemic, like, I had been going through a really hard time that first year. I was a foster mom, and my littles were gone, and it was really hard. And I just started knowing that I couldn't stay in that like what if and why like place in my life. And I wanted to mentor other moms and encourage other women. And, it was the middle of the pandemic and everybody was stuck at home. And I just started being on, it was mostly on the shelf cooking Facebook group that I was answering most of the questions, but people were scared to go to the grocery store and they were scared to, not have the items that they needed on the grocery shelves and at home. And I just felt like I could answer these questions and with knowledge that I didn't even really know that was needed, and it's just, we say here that God has used strawberries, but we have no idea where this is going, and
Yes.
it's the way that I can reach so many more people is by teaching them produce hacks and having food in their house. But, that calling on my heart is generational change and to wake up every day to be a blessing to somebody else.
And you are. And you are. I think about, feed my sheep, and you provide that nourishment because we all need to eat, like let's face it. But also the message that you share, Amy, is so nourishing to the soul. And so that's why I'm grateful to know you, because the way, what you're doing is so powerful and so needed, but the way in which you teach, it just resonates because there's so much love. When we say as moms like that, there's a secret ingredient and it's love. Well, that's what you bring to the table, literally, like pun intended.
Somebody had said right at the beginning of this last year that I brought hope back to the kitchen. And like, yeah, like you don't realize like how much of a burden the kitchen brings, like it's supposed to be the heartbeat of our home, but it's also like the most stressful thing in our home too. Like what's for dinner and those dishes that are sitting over there. And, do I have to go to the grocery store and can I afford to go to the grocery store and all of those things. And us being an allergy family and I'm diabetic on top of it, like all of those other stresses that come from the kitchen that's supposed to be like that gathering place. I'm just trying to bring that hope back that's here. And then somebody else had said, because we call it the Cross Legacy, and that's our last name is Cross, and that's like our motto for our family is the Cross Legacy, but that I wasn't just helping other people know the Cross Legacy way, I was helping them change their family's legacy, and it was about everybody else's legacy and not just my family's legacy, which I just kept to my heart like all year.
Absolutely. And one thing that I love about what you're doing is that studies show, I'm a big geek. And there's so much research out there, and studies show that the family dinner is such a pivotal point in families, just sitting at the table and sharing a meal. And I'm saying dinner, but it really doesn't matter when you sit at the table. And so kids cooking, all my kids know how to cook. And that, when you share the love for cooking, when there's that stress-free experience and you're sharing love and sharing conversation, that's where families can bond the most. And so it really is tied to generational change. And I really love that there's hope, like you said, because I have found myself, in really extreme poverty. And I have found myself as a single mom that I am of four daughters, extra close, you know how it is. Just to know that you can save, just to know that you can reuse everything in your fridge. These things are revolutionary. And just that little bit of relief really changes the environment. The home environment makes it more positive. So I'm really grateful for what you're doing because it really changes. And the confidence that the kids have when they cook with mom, or when they know how to prepare a meal, or they know one of your life-saving tips about how to keep lettuce, these are things that we can share with our children as they're growing up, and it becomes like, I learned this secret from my grandma who learned it from Amy back in the day. You know what I mean? It's just amazing. Yeah. Mm.
I mean, that's from my grandma.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Mm. Oh my gosh.
I'm
Thank you.
so
Thank
blessed to
you.
know you, and you're so brave. Being able to tell your story on a TEDx stage that's going to get shared with the world. And, you know, there's so many women that have similar stories that aren't ready to talk about them. And I just think of like how much you're doing that's going to really affect, you know, women all around the world when they're hearing your story, um, and you know that out of something so traumatic that you've been able to bring so much peace and healing to others, that just as a conversation starter, like even from telling some of my friends to jump on this tonight, you know, and being able to like, you know, I've already heard her TED talk because we were practicing together, you know, like I know
Yes.
what it says, even though it's not live yet. Like, um, you know, just to know that like it already is affecting lives. It's already changing lives, and just being so brave to be able to talk about it and to, um, sorry, I had a little pop here. Um, talk about it and, you know, change those lives and open up those conversations that so many women have went through similar things and just so scared to talk about it or ashamed of
Yeah.
themselves, and not
You know,
knowing that.
it's really, thank you for that. And I really, it really awakened something in me because I remember, what we're talking about. It's really something devastating that happened to me. And going through an assault. And I remember when it happened, I was a young girl, and I did not want to talk about it with anybody. I mean, just wanted to cry thinking about it. And it's okay not to talk about it. When you're ready, it's healing. Um, but before that, it really is difficult. And so I want to, honor anybody who has been through any type of abuse and any type of traumatic experience. It's okay not to keep it a secret because it's not about that, but it's okay not to tell anyone that you don't feel safe with. And sometimes in life, you are the only safe person in your life, and that's okay. And so that's why I'm a writer. I started writing when I was a little girl. I went to school. I started school when I was 2 years old. So by age 5, I could write all kinds of stuff. And I remember just writing to myself because I was the only safe person that I knew. And sometimes with this kind of cases, you feel scared that even safe people who are safe, but they're going to be so heartbroken. And as little girls and young people, we don't want to cause them grief. And all of that is a dynamic that we need to honor and respect. And so now I feel ready. I've done a lot of healing and I feel ready to talk about it. But Amy, it's been 26 years actually. And so it's okay to it's also brave to be quiet about it, as long as you are doing the healing, honoring yourself. But I'm ready to be a voice for everyone, and to share healing techniques with the women and the moms out there, because my mission with my blog is to share skills and strategies and support so that moms can turn trauma into transformation so that they can really heal, find peace, feel whole, and break those cycles that really chain us.
It's just interesting how like two people can grow up in the same household and have like the same similar experiences, and then at the end the end or later, like um, deciding how they're going to use those experiences. And, you know, if
Yeah.
you're going to be stuck in that trauma or if you're going to be making generational change for others. And that's something that's just really played on my heart a lot, especially being like a foster mom and stuff, knowing that I'm trying to help break those cycles um, that might be affecting other families. And
Yeah.
you know, and just giving this place of being able to answer questions. And I mean, not necessarily personal questions, but being a listening ear to
Yes.
others,
Yes.
an understanding ear. Um,
Yeah. And
so,
that's a lot, Amy. You know, we underestimate the power of listening. Sometimes we want to say beautiful things to people, and actually they don't land as we want them to land. And there's so much power in listening, and sometimes that's all you got to do. So the fact that you're a good and active listener is such a powerful gift, and a lot of people, you know, we need to develop this gift. We need to develop this skill of just being present with each other. And I was gonna say a comment to what you said about growing up in the same household and all of that, you know, and or going through whatever together, because you know there are natural disasters. There are many circumstances that two people can have, and one of my mentors created this formula called E plus R equals O. And what that means is events plus response equals outcome. So our outcome is always going to change depending on the response that we have. Now, I will tell you, he calls this taking personal responsibility. And that is great. Like we can think consciously, like if two people go through the same event, they respond differently, so they obviously have different outcomes. But sometimes, and this has happened to me, sometimes we don't have a choice on what our response is because we don't have the brain capacity to do it. Our brain, when we have been through trauma, many times degenerates, or is our development is stunted. So I have learned that, you know, when I have not responded in the way that I wanted to, sometimes my brain has been hijacked. And so that's why I'm passionate about us healing. And many times we can think like, oh, you know, but I don't believe in therapy, but I don't believe in this, but I don't know if prayer works. You know, we can be skeptical, but I would recommend to anyone, no matter if you don't think you've been through trauma, try to find a way, an outlet to process your emotions, to process your experiences, because that's going to change the way that you respond, and you're going to be able to respond more consciously next time, because you know that's the way life is.
I think a lot of, I don't even know how to say it, but the like the shame and the guilt and all those things that we hold on to of things that we just had no control over, you know, like um, is just something that needs forgiveness on our own selves for thinking badly of ourselves, or the shame and guilt that goes along with that. Um, Even when things start happening way before the age of innocence is over,
Yes.
and you know, and not knowing that things that were happening were wrong
Yeah.
at the time, and those kind of things, that just that opening that conversation and knowing that it's okay to talk to your teachers, and teachers are trained now to listen to you when you're talking to them, that they do take, you know, especially little girls, um, you know, their stories, you know, they do listen to them and move forward with those. And I think it's so important how things have changed, even from like my mom and my grandmother's generation of things that happened to like now. And but there's so much shame and guilt that goes along with any kind of trauma. and
Yeah. Oh, I love that you said that, Amy, because you know, a lot of times well-meaning people will say, whoa, why didn't you tell somebody what, like you could have known. But the thing is that the reason why you reacted that way is because that was the best way that you knew to react. And that's it. In hindsight, you can think like, oh, maybe I could have done this, maybe I could have done that, but that really doesn't help. And it's true what you're saying. We're in different times, and I think as moms and foster moms and teachers, like you said, mentors, we have a responsibility to educate our kids. I have four daughters, but this has no gender. Our kids as to what is happening, and sometimes out of fear that we don't want to ruin their beautiful picture of life, we don't share things that can create prevention. And so just using appropriate, age appropriate language, but our body is a temple, and that is easy to teach. It's just, so there are many ways in which we can teach our kids that what's appropriate, what's inappropriate. And one thing that I have always told my girls, you can come to me with any issue, and I will believe you.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if you feel uncomfortable, and even if you don't think you should feel uncomfortable. It could just be the way that someone looks at you. It could be just what you feel when somebody enters the room. I want to know it, and to me that is valid. And
Mhm.
so since we're in that topic, it's really important that we are advocates of our children, and that they feel safe coming to us to speak about their feelings and their intuition, and the way that they perceive people around them.
Mhm. But well, here in Washington, you're in Texas, but it's been very controversial about some education in schools, and I don't want to get into all that, but I totally believe it's really, really important to teach proper body part names to our children. Like, it doesn't need to go much further than that, age appropriate, but proper body names, body part names, because even other littles that I've been around, like they're trying to tell me something, and it's just like, I didn't know what that flower was, and I didn't know what that was, or what those at home words were that they were using. And I think parents teaching their kids what their body parts are called, and so when they do need to have a conversation with a teacher or a doctor or something, they have those words, or if they even hear it from another friend, they know to have their ears perk up and listen to somebody else. And
Well, because that I love that you said that, because that's where the shame begins. If it's like, if you don't call me Elena, even if you misspell
you're
it,
gonna call you
but
Elena.
if you just call me girl
Yeah.
every single time I'm with you, I'm gonna be like, there's something off here, because
Mhm.
she never says my name. So
Right.
even with that whenever you don't call things by their name, is because something is off, and there's an energy that's transmitted there. There's
Mhm.
a spirit of shame that is infused in this conversation already. So yes to everything you said. And why am I not willing to say these words? Why am I finding a workaround? What is it in me that I'm transmitting to my children now about this topic? And that's why, I think we come back to that. Until we do our own healing, we are not fully equipped to be parents.
My my dad, both my parents, were loggers, and I shared it on my personal Facebook page today. But 3 years ago today, we were on a dream vacation in Hawaii that we had wanted to go on for 25 years. Like, it was a dream. And the day that we were leaving, I saw this palm tree, and it just totally like hit my heart. because it was like knocked over and then it goes straight. And my dad being a logger, like one of the best lessons he ever gave me in my life is like that tree that gets knocked over because of a storm or, a skidder or whatever, whatever it is that knocked it over, it's always going to go straight and try to find the light. And
Yeah.
whenever I see those trees and the trunks are like bent like that, I just think of like a childhood that was really hard, but it's still trying to go straight and see the light. And
And it's so beautiful. I mean, we
yeah,
have those palm trees in the Dominican Republic too, because we're an island, and I remember just wanting to go and take a picture by those palm trees because they're like more special.
right, right. They
Yeah,
worked even harder to stand up straight. And I just
yeah.
every time I see one, it's just such a life lesson
Uh,
to me that it just remembering my dad, like it doesn't matter what that was as a sapling, it's going to grow strong and go straight to the
yeah,
sky, to the light.
yeah.
And, um,
Absolutely. It's so beautiful. And now I won't look at them the same again. They're even more special. What a beautiful lesson to teach.
yeah,
It's really powerful.
I had spoke about it in our youth groups when I was a teenager, and then I kind of forgot about it for a while, and then just to see that one day and it just like hit me so hard that I hadn't really thought about it in 20 years. And then there it was again. And then it just ironically today it showed up as a memory
Yeah,
exactly 3 years ago that I had posted that and how important it was. But um,
yeah. Well, one
yeah,
thing that I always say is our adversity is not our destiny. And we may think in the moment, and I have felt it. I have felt it. I have struggled with this since I can remember. I was 5 the first time I wanted to give up, and I thought that I wasn't wanted or needed in this earth. And it's a constant struggle that I'm not trying to hide or anything like that. But there are ways, there are tools, we are equipped to to move over it. And in the moment, it's so dark and it's so seductive. I actually call it the seduction of death because it feels like it's the right thing. It feels like it's the right thing to do. And yet, we have the opportunity to move past that. And so, for anyone who is struggling or feeling like they want to give up, you know, if you need help, please reach out. There are people like Amy, like me, that know how to listen, that are a safe person. We've been through a lot. We know what it's like to be beaten down. And so even if you don't think your destiny, because you don't have to see it right now, you just have to see the next day that you can make it through one more day,
oh my
and
God.
that is enough. And that, we're designed for a grand destiny, and those are just moments. And sometimes, long moments, let's be honest here. But in the scheme of things, I think after that happened to me, it's been 26 years. I've had 4 girls. I've moved to the US. I have traveled the world speaking. I have done so many beautiful things, and I'm so grateful to be alive. And none of that would have happened, on this coming Friday is my 26th birthday.
Right there.
And none of that would have happened if I would have given up.
Right.
And so we never know what is coming, what's around the corner. And so just having that sense of possibility that there is something better around the corner and to hang on. And if we can't see it, we call people that can see it for us and that can have that prayer in their heart.
Yeah, just that knowing that if you can get through this, like there's somebody else that you can help through it too. And
Yes.
you know, I've always, all the struggles with my health and different things, I've always looked at it that way. Like even recently being diabetic, like it took me 6 months to even be able to tell my mom. I'm a grown adult, like I just recently told my mom after processing it for 6 months. But then one of my friends this week just found out that she was diabetic, and just the being able to know that I had a little bit more knowledge than she had, and be able to know that I'm walking this journey with her. And even that I have to wear a glucose monitor. You can kind of see it through
Oh
my
yeah.
shirt. And the day right before the dress rehearsal, right before we were going to go on stage for TEDx, the ASL sign language translator, she had came up to me and she was like, "Oh," she's like, "I see your," and I was just like, "Yeah." She's like, "We have to stick together," and I just started crying. And at first I was embarrassed because she could see it through my shirt and or my dress because I was wearing my like TEDx clothes. And then I realized like she totally gave me the confidence to know that she was going through this too, and she could handle me being stressed out. I was worried that my blood sugars are going to be really high and I get squirrel brainy. So she was on the stage with me doing the translations, and I was worried that I would see it out of the corner of my eye and just be like, just totally distracted because that's me. but but
That's
her
me too.
coming up to me and being able to like, I see you and I see this on you, and
Yeah.
we have a connection. It was totally like that God moment for me that, okay, like God put somebody here for me to walk this path with me and to
Mm,
literally be on the stage with me, and you know
yeah.
and and tell this message, tell people about how for 2 years I couldn't open my hands, that they
Yeah.
were clawed. And I was ready to give up at that time. And if it wasn't for my friends and family that came every single day to make sure that I could dress and I could eat
Yeah.
and, those kind of things, that I
Yeah.
wouldn't have a story to tell other people. It's one of the hardest things that I talk about publicly. But if I hadn't went through those hard years 13 years ago, I I wouldn't be able to encourage other people. If I wasn't scared to talk about my diabetes, I wouldn't be able to help my friend this week. She wouldn't have known, she wouldn't have known that she had somebody else that understands how scared she is
Yeah.
this week,
Yeah.
and
And that's the key is when people understand, because one of the most isolating thoughts that I've ever had is no one gets it. No one understands this. And that is so isolating and so lonely. And thankfully, I have my faith, and I know that there's someone else that understands it. But in my reality, in my sphere, you know, I have felt like I'm surrounded by so many people and no one gets the pain in my heart. And so when we can be that person like you are, and you're like that with everyone, like let me just say that. I I know that that's your gift. That's your gift. Like you make everyone feel seen and heard. And that's such a gift. But when we develop that skill, because it can be developed, and then we are able to truly help people. It's not through motivation, and it's not through like you know gifts or things like that. Those are great on top of it, but it's truly through saying, I understand, I am here. And it's wonderful that you have your friends and family. Like I want to know, I'm curious, like what were you thinking, like, because the way that you described it in your talk, and I can't wait until the talk is live. It's so it's so debilitating and so demoralizing to feel like you felt, and yet you kept going. Like, what were some of the thoughts that went through your head that helped you keep moving forward?
um well, at the time, so both my hands clawed like this, and I couldn't open them for 2 years. Um, and my girls were little; they were in elementary school at the time, and helpless, like absolutely helpless. I I didn't know because it started in my hip. I have reflective sympathetic dystrophy. It started in my hip. It's been in my spine over different seasons where I've been in a wheelchair and stuff. But when it attacked my hands, and I couldn't take care of myself. Like my daughter's being in elementary school, learning how to brush my hair, or different things, or um, I just felt like such a burden. I felt like such a burden to everybody around me. And not knowing, and the doctors didn't know during the time whether or not it would continue to attack more joints. We never imagined I would be healthy. We never imagined I would drive a car again. We never imagined all of this, like me being healthy again and having use of my joints and my hands. And I still, like, this has been a really bad flare-up week for me. I had honestly passed out Thursday night, and I haven't done that in a couple of years. And the weather changing and different things like just flare my body up. But like, I'm here and I can pick up a pumpkin if I wanted to. I can hold my hands, like I can stand here and not need a walker or a wheelchair. And just that hope every day that I could get through that day. And then another day, somebody was going to show up. My husband was here, and just wanting to watch my kids grow up. Like, no matter what I look like or felt like and all those things, like I wanted to be able to see my kids one more day and just to keep getting through one more day and one more day. And it was 2 years of being totally disabled before we started figuring out what was wrong and making the right connections again. It's a brain thing where my brain misfires. And so at first they wanted to do surgeries on my hands, and it's not actually in my hands. It was in my brain that the issue was. And so, yeah, just every day knowing that if I get through today and make a difference in somebody's life, I will have tomorrow and try to be a blessing the next day.
Yeah, so you summed it up perfectly, and it's such an emotional story because I think that as moms we can definitely relate our kids being a reason, and it's for people that don't have kids, it's love. Whoever or whatever you love, it could be your cat, it could be it
Your
could be
dog.
a plant. Yeah, exactly. It could be what, like gardening. It could be whatever it is, but it's leaning into what you love or who you love that creates that spark. And when I think about that moment that I spoke about earlier, like just being in that dark moment in my life, it was thinking about my daughters and what kind of mom I could be for them. And whatever it is, when you lean into love, love becomes that light that no matter how dark it is, you can't chase it away. Like if you were to turn off all the lights, which make me feel bronze right now, I don't know what's happening here, but but if you turn off all the lights and then just open a little crack, you can see so much clearer than ever before. Sometimes you see, so it's incredible how much you can see with just a tiny speck of light. And that's what love does. That's what that thought, I want to see my kids grow up. I remember, I'm a cancer survivor, and I've been in remission 13 years. And I remember thinking, I want to be a grandma, you know? And just writing in my vision, how I would write, because writing is my thing. I would write like how I would be at Alicia's wedding, and then at Alyssa's wedding, I only had the two at that time. And then how I would like be there for their birth and like put ice pack around their, like all of these things that I was imagining, because I want to be there. And that really drove me. And that was a really hard time because I couldn't take care of myself, and I try to request my family to come travel to the US, and they couldn't. And I was all alone. And not only I had to do that, but I had to actually take my kids over there while I was healing by myself here. So even though they were my reason, I didn't have them in the everyday. So I had to kind of make up these stories of the future. And whatever that is, it can be imaginary. When you lean into the love and you find something or someone that you love and focus on that, things start to dissipate slowly. And that you are a brilliant example of that, Amy.
We have I have pictures. I don't do writing so much, but I have pictures that are just ingrained in my head, and then some of them I have saved to my phone that resemble like what I dream of someday, and a farm, like getting back on a farm, and
Yeah.
this porch with two rocking chairs is like just ingrained in my head. And these different things that Mike and I for 25 years have wanted for our future. And last week, there's a local food bank here, and I went to to meet with the founder of it, or I'm not sure what she's called, the founder, the CEO of this. It's amazing. Um, it's not like a typical food bank. It's like a market. Like the kids don't even know when you go into the store that they're at the food bank. It's like it's so amazing. And
Oh,
anyways, and I went in, which we thought was going to be like a half an hour meeting. We were there for 3 hours, like just
wow.
talking. And she started showing me these pictures on this vision board that she has, like on her computer, but it's her vision board. And I'm just in there bawling because it's the exact farm, it's the exact greenhouse, like the exact things that I have been praying about every day for years. Like,
Wow.
and if Mike or somebody the team would have walked in there with me and saw these things up on the screen, they would have thought those were my pictures. Like, it was just so everything
Wow.
to know that, we're social media influencers. Both of us, we are not here for what the typical people think social media influencers are doing.
Yeah.
Like you get to do all this fun things with Disney and, like those kind of things, but
Yeah.
that's not why we're here,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and, to be able to like do partner with this nonprofit here in our area, or be able to have conversations like this that will be spread around the world, like that's why we are social media
Yeah.
influencers.
Absolutely.
And to change
Absolutely.
that narrative of what we're doing and why we're doing it, I think is so important. Like people see like, oh, we're putting up affiliate links and we're trying to get you to buy things and those kind of things. And it's so we can do more of this, like
Absolutely.
at some
Yes.
point you do have to get paid so we can spend doing more conversations like this, that
Yeah.
we can do more speaking events, we can travel and touch more lives. And it's not about all the stuff,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, they say, I don't know who said this, but I've heard it say that the purpose of money is to live a comfortable life so that you can express your positive gifts to the world. Because the thing is, and I have been there, when you're stressed about money, when you're stressed about how you're going to make it through the day, and that, you're not creative, you're not generous. I mean, you could try, but then even in the trying to be generous, you're going to feel like, well, I can't give enough. I can't, do enough. So everything is stifled. But when you're comfortable in your finances, which is why, I one of my biggest parts of my ministry is to helping moms also really get clear on how finances create freedom. And and it's like when you're comfortable in that setting, then you can just feel relaxed to express your gift, to be more creative, to be more authentic, to be also more on purpose, helping others, and your service. You know how in the Bible it says God loves a cheerful giver, not a stressed out giver.
Right.
You know, it's like because you're cheerful and you're giving out of love because you have the time and the money, and it's not about like $1 billion. It's about being comfortable enough so you can express your gift. And I think that's the key. It's all about the positive, you know, influencer is about positive influence and making an impact on people, and really being a voice for those people who need to hear positive uplifting messages. And while we're at it, we're monetizing things so that we can express our gift.
Right. We we have a organization here that helps moms in need, and it's for moms. And I recently got to go speak to the group. They have it's called DreamWorks, and so it's like 16 weeks or something, and then they graduate. I might not have the exact weeks right, but I think it's 16 weeks. And they had brought me in on a Tuesday because they were wanting me to come speak in January to the next graduation group kind of thing. And by that Tuesday, I was speaking on Thursday to their moms, and they had canceled. So the group is supposed to like help them make resumes and give them basic like computer skills, and like helping them find those jobs with their littles and everything. And by the end of that meeting that I had in the office before I talked to the moms, I really made them realize that like learning Microsoft Word is great, and building that resume is great. But if the moms are so worried about feeding their kids at home, it's not going to matter. And during that conversation, I was able to, a lot of moms that are on WIC and food stamps, but especially WIC, you have like the produce amount that you get on each of the checks. A lot of them are walking away and leaving like $60 a month on the table that they could be buying on produce because they don't know how to buy the produce. They don't know how to weigh it at the scales. And, they're leaving all this fresh food, that they could be feeding their families away. And, just being able to go teach these moms that, when you go, it's so worth to eat for the next snack. And if you had food in your house, like, it was so powerful. Like all the women that were there, it was just so powerful. And it was a different message than I'm normally talking about. But it's just, hold on just a second. There's one at the end.
Because, this is how you also break a cycle. Is becoming educated financially. It's not simply, because the thing is that money has emotions attached to it. Like you said, well, I don't know how to do the produce or to use my WIC card, but I'm afraid that you're going to shame me because I don't know how to use it, or I'm afraid to ask because somebody's going to say something, or maybe the shame of being, on WIC. It doesn't matter what it is, but it always is. It comes down to an emotion. It comes down to an emotional reaction. So when we break those stigmas and we make it really just about like, let's help people who are in need and let's love them, and let's meet them where they're at, then we are able to really flourish and to really move to the next step. Because now, guess what? Now I'm going to have $60 more.
Right.
If I'm on WIC, right? And my life is going to change to the positive, extent that those $60 mean to me. So that is what we need to see. When people are met with love and understanding and compassion, they can make better decisions. We are all that way. That's how we're wired as human beings. And so sometimes, like I said, we're making those emotional decisions, and that impacts our kids and our grandkids, and it's a legacy. Like that's why I love your company name. But it starts there. Like healing our relationship with the finances, but
Mhm.
also helping others see themselves differently no matter what their circumstances are. And I love that you're helping with that. I've taught those classes because I'm the geek that comes and teaches all those things. and and I'm always infusing, I call myself a sneaky preacher, I'm always infusing those encouraging messages and in whatever I teach and those perspectives, because it's true, skills without soul don't work.
Mm. I love that. Like, I just love you. Like,
I love you.
I just love you.
Well, it's mutual, you know that.
But let's see. I think we've been on here for almost an hour, so
Oh my gosh, wow, I
for
love
that.
it.
So no, I do the thing. It's almost there, but I'm just going to talk about it. But on February 22nd, 22, when it was 2/2/22 or whatever, whenever I catch the clock and it says 5:55, oh, you're ahead of me in time wise, but
Yeah.
5:55 or 3:33, I just take this like deep breath in and like look at what he's doing in my life. Like look
Mm.
at what is happening. Like I don't even know.
Oh,
But every single time I take a deep breath in, and then one of our team members was in a class recently and they were talking about breathing out the colors. And so I breathe in all the goodness and take in that moment and breathe out the smog, like breathe out the smoke and those negative feelings. And so
I love
it's
that.
just funny how many times I see that click on the clock, like over and over, the day.
And I'll
And
tell you
every single time, like the whole team knows, oh, it's 4:44.
I love that so much. Can I tell you my thing with the time? Whenever my birthday is 12/16, so it's December 16.
Mhm.
So every time it's 12/16, I look at the clock and I celebrate my birthday. It's like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
12:16.
it's my
I
birthday.
like that.
Thank you, God, for another day, another birthday. So I'm like 300 years old, but it's just like, I love that you have, having those moments of celebration. Like, it may sound silly, but it is so life-giving. And so just allowing ourselves to do that, it brings a lot of goodness into our life, and it brings that spirit of gratitude, which is
Mhm.
cleansing, and it's invigorating. So thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, just that breathing in, yeah, it's 5:55. But breathing in the goodness and blowing out all the distractions and, just knowing that this is social media. Like, it's so weird to say I'm a social media influencer. Like, when people ask what my title is, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I wrote 2 books now. I'm a speaker. I'm like, I don't
Yeah,
know what my title is. Like, the state of
you're a
Washington
public
didn't even know what
figure.
my title was.
You know what it says on Instagram? Public figure.
Yeah, I don't. And that's just even weird. It's like, it's all this
Yeah,
weird.
that's so weird.
It's just weird. But I was the first social media influencer here in Washington to hire employees,
Wow,
because we
I
have a
love
team
that.
of 8 people. But it's just so we have other moms that are helping getting their groceries paid.
Yes,
Um,
yeah, and I love that you're saying that, because you know what? Like, you're making a difference in your life, but also in other people's lives. And that's what it's all about. It's not, there's this saying that I really love called, there's no private good. Any blessing that you receive in your heart, it's going to bless somebody else if you so allow it. And so thank you, Amy, for being such a blessing to everyone, because your light is a blessing. Like, I didn't even know you or speak to you or know anything about your TEDx talk, and I saw you, and you were just so bright, and you had this huge smile, which you still do because you're just gorgeous, and that made my day. And it's like, let's be ourselves, let's shine our light, let's just really spread this love throughout the planet. but also let's help other people pay their bills too, because that's important.
Well, I'm just so thankful that we met through Thought Leader, and
Yeah.
we both have been on TEDx stages. Elena's been on 2 this month. Like,
Yeah.
it's just incredible. But
Working on my third now.
so am I in Texas. I put in Texas applications.
Oh
Come on,
my gosh,
Texas.
yes. Oh yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, we gotta
There's something going
get
on in
together.
Texas. I know we are going to get together, and it will be in Texas.
Yes. Okay, let's do it.
So I just did Texas applications. We have something working with a nonprofit down there. I don't want to spread their name, but
Yeah.
there's something big that will end up sending me to Texas, and meeting you is a big thing.
Yes. I can't wait to hug you, Amy. I'm way shorter than I look. So
I'm only 1.
I'm 4'8.5".
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. But yes, that would be a very beautiful day. Let's share the stage. Let's share the stage.
Right?
Yes, yes,
We can make our own stage and people to come. So
yes.
we can
Let's
make our
do it.
own events if people would come.
Yes, I actually am planning to, so let's talk about it. Let's do it.
Let's change the world.
Yeah, yeah. That's our destiny.
Well, I have my little sign here I was going to show, because I should have sent one to you, but thanks for coming to my thanks for supporting my TED. So one
I
of my
love
friends
it.
made that for me. But
So good.
anyways, I just thank you for your time, and I know these are hard conversations, and it's not normally what I talk about, but it's every day what's in my heart is making that generational change and being a blessing to somebody else. And sometimes being a blessing to somebody else is a really hard conversation, and it can bring up a lot of hurts and things that need to be healed that you haven't thought about in a long time too. And I'm so thankful to have somebody that's willing to have these kind of conversations with me, and just all the good that we'll be able to do partnering up together and
Yes.
changing the world. But
Amen. Thank
we'll
you
put all
for
your
having
links
me.
so it shows. I'm getting super feedback. I don't know what's going on. But we'll put up
Oh.
all the links so my followers can follow you, and then
Mine can follow you.
yeah. So, it'll all be great. And then this will go up on YouTube in a few days. So they'll just grab it right as it is, no editing or anything, and it'll just go straight on our YouTube channel.
So
So
I'll look bronze.
yeah,
It's okay.
it's the message. Don't let it distract you.
I'm just a golden child.
All righty. Well, thank you so much for being here, and I love you.
Thank you. I love you so much. Thank you for having me, and I'll come back whenever you want me.
All right, in Texas.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Bye-bye.